Hello, welcome back. Today I am talking about another hybrid dongle. This one from Shanling, the UA6. Special place in my heart for Shanling. I had this one, my first dongle I ever bought, UP5, so Bluetooth battery powered. And when I saw this one pop up, reminded me of that, and it had a battery. I've been testing so many dongles these days. What sets things apart? Really, comes in a nice little box, comes with a USB-C to USB-C cable, comes with a USB-A to USB-C adapter, and you have two choices, black or silver. It's got this kind of grooved finish on the side. Those are the only three buttons that you see. And I'll talk about that later. My only criticism with this little hybrid system. Why do I keep calling it a hybrid system? Well, because that 220 milliamp battery, it does three things. And let's jump into this thing. You get a 1.33 inch display. So in this review, the M1 Plus is going to be making a guest appearance too. I'm going to do a comparison against 4 other dongles, so you have a good idea of where this thing sits, how it sounds, more importantly, and if it's for you. So, really easy to operate. The screen is rotatable 4 ways, 90, 180, 270, so you can, and then 0, right, to normal position. And the key functions can do 3 different things on the side. So you can either have DAC volume, system volume, or track selection up and down, and easily adjustable. On the menu, one of the things I liked about this thing is when you went to the menu, if you were at that function in the menu and you went back into it later, it would remember that position in the menu. So if you're constantly flipping rotation and leave it on rotation, if you're flipping filter modes, then it'll be at that setting as well when you go back there. So tons of optimization for you with this display. It has different brightness controls, RGB, red, blue, green, red, green, blue settings in the color gamuts. How long do you want the screensaver on or off? From increments from 5 to 60 seconds in 5-second increments. And when you actually have the screensaver on, it just has a very little musical symbol playing, so you know there's life. And then there's also an RGB light down below to show you your sampling rates, which I got them to light up completely, including DST 512. So tested that function as well. There's not only that for the display, there's themes, different color themes as well. So really user adjustable. This little guy is selling for $150 right now around town. So it's more than the $100 category. and less than Ibanez's DC7 Pro. We're going to compare that as well. It's also got other things, switch mode as well. Now, I'm not sure if that's like the UP5, where it doesn't charge the battery while you're having your device connected to it. I couldn't actually test that. Didn't work for me. SPDIF out, which is a strange function, and I just can't figure it out why you would do it out of a DAC anyway. Now, speaking of DACs, what makes this different, the UA6, is it has actually true quad Cirrus Logic DACs, the 43131s. And so in balance mode, you do have true, not pseudo balanced DACs, you have quad DACs. And you can set it to quad or dual DACs, and we'll get into that again. Your typical high-low gain and 6 filters that actually do make a difference. The non-oversampling, fast, low latency, slow, low latency, fast, slow, and fast filters. I really liked it, and again, because they do make a difference in sound profile. This is how I typically do filters. I use fast filters if I want to enhance the top end for really kind of warmer things. I want to bring more energy up front. And then the slow filters for IEMs that are too energetic, I want to slow them down. So that's how I remember that as well. Balance control, I do appreciate that. If you have some gear that has some channel imbalance, or your ears, that will work for you. I think that's a great feature as well. So that's a lot of little features for $150, but I want to talk about this hybrid battery system and why that's actually so important, and why I'm going to put a bit more emphasis on that instead of just having a dongle that draws power off of your source. Right now, I did an interesting test. I played this at 77 dBs with EPZ 530s, and I let it run with a fully charged battery on the Shanling M1 Plus, high gain. I listened to it at moderately high volumes, and I wanted to see how long this would really last, like a real world test, and I got just under 7 hours at that volume in high gain balanced out on the M1 Plus. And what was interesting is I did the same test, now connected the UA6 to the M1 Plus, again fully charged battery, and what I wasn't expecting is that it lasted 7.5 hours before the battery died on here. So that was an interesting take. So obviously that battery inside of the unit draws very little power, obviously less power than the whole DAP it did by itself, driving at the same volume levels with the same IM. Sound-wise, let's jump right into this. After listening and comparing to other sources, you get a feel of the sound signature, and I would describe the Shanling UA6, it has a slight V-shape to it. It keeps the bass still super punchy and fast, putting a slight emphasis, no, I would just say not slight, it would put an emphasis on the upper mids and sparkly treble details. Big stage. Now, was one of my other takeaways and observations about the quad DAC mode versus the dual DAC mode. The quad DAC mode, the regular stage on dual on dual DAC mode is big and wide. But what happens when you switch it to quad DAC modes on balanced? This was a really cool observation. Didn't think it would make that much of a difference. But it absolutely does. Why do they have dual DAC modes versus the quad DAC mode? Well, I'm pretty sure that's to, and I didn't test that, to cut down even more power, only running 2 of the DACs instead of the 4. So that's why I mentioned when I did my little real world test, I ran it as hard as you normally would in a real world environment. And I could probably get more juice longevity wise out of it, but 7.5 hours is quite a lot for me. There's no way I'd listen to a session like that. Maybe 2 hours typically. That's it for me. So you get 3 or 4 listening sessions out of one, out of a battery, out of your source, whatever. So, and your phone with a much larger battery battery's fantastic. Obviously, it's a great feature. So that's why I'm putting a big detail on it. The overall UA6 also has some slight overtones of just hints of warmth while keeping a very high level of control and dynamics, especially on the lower end and the mid-range. So I'm going to do some comparisons in a little bit of a shootout here. So the UP5, now this one uses an older ES9219C DAC chip, Qualcomm Bluetooth 5.0, 240 milliwatts, OLED display, it has a mic, built-in battery, up to 15 hours, they say, volume wheel, NFC quick pairing, the EDIC companion app as well. Though mine, I think, is actually broken because I couldn't even get it into menu mode. As soon as I started playing it, it was like, I just couldn't get it to go into menu mode. So shows up in the companion app, but I think there's something wrong with my unit. In the UP5, how does the UA6 sound in versus the UP5? Well, the UP5 reminds me again the sound signature of the older Shanlings, like the M6U and the M8, the M9 Plus, which were warmer sources. Where this one is more neutral, less colored. Bass is tighter, not as deep as the UP5, but it does have bigger stage and better dynamics in my opinion. So that's how those two compared against each other. So the Onyx Alpha, next one up, $109, also using dual Cirrus logic, but in this case the 43198s times 2. And now in this case they also use separate op amps for its audio circuitry. It's almost the same, it's exactly the same size pretty much. But here's where some of the differences are. Now people keep referring to the Onyx Alpha as a Shanling. Shanling does make it for Onyx, but this is Onyx's specs. So this is an Onyx made by Shanling. And it's the stage is bigger on the Alpha, not so front and center. And that's what you get where this one pushes the upper mids and trebles a bit forward. The bass is less punchy here, but goes deeper, sounds a little bit more organically natural. So the difference is really where you get into the top end, where this is adding in some extra energy and coloration into the upper mids and treble, where this stays more balanced across the entire frequency range. So in this one, the UA6 does push vocals and instruments a little bit forward in the mix. So you get vocals coming through a little bit more pronounced. You get string instruments coming through a little bit more pronounced. I think the Onyx is more resolving in the mids, but this is more resolving in the top end because it has a little bit more energy up there. Why would I pick this one over this one? Well, the Onyx would be better for mid-forward IAMs, Harman-tuned IAMs, where you wanted to neutralize everything, tame everything a little bit down. And the Shanling would be better for kind of warmer, laid-back gear like and I was listening to the Oravetti OH700 VBs, and the Sigma Q was absolutely fantastic. This is where you'd want to squeeze out every little energy up top with some details and not really worry about the extra colorization or warmth. You're trying to add it. I'm going to talk about this. The Onyx, again, even with the latest firmware, for me, only works on half of my devices without a separate power supply. Or I have hundreds of cables. It's not the cable, it is the unit itself that just doesn't power up with. When I was listening to the M1 Plus, these two, or the M5 Ultra or the Onyx XM5, this thing will not power up off of those devices unless I use a battery backup and that CB19 or some other USB-C splitter. So as much as I love this Alpha dongle for sound-wise, it's a giant pain in the ass. The UA6 with its hybrid power supply, I'm going to make this note here, doesn't have any of these issues, and that is one of the reasons why they did what they did. It works, and it can power those 4 DACs with the built-in battery effortlessly, and it works on every single device. No issues whatsoever, unlike the Onyx Alpha. Next up, EPZ TP35. Lovely little tiny dongle, $58. Bling factor's high, but it's not even a fair fight between these two. The EPZ sounds more powerful. It has more output, but in comparison, sound-wise, it's almost lifeless and dull. It's missing the dynamics. It sounds sterile, where the UA6 sounds musical, smooth, natural. Playing on the Pula anvil with the bone conduction driver, the TP35 was just playing the music. And on the UA6, it brought the Pula out to life and really brought out the best from the bone conduction from the anvil. And I didn't get that with the TP35. The top end details were just wow with the UA6, where it was just meh in comparison in the TP35. I mean, this is 3 times the price almost, right? So keep that in mind. Playing Flight of the Cosmic Hippo from Bella Fleck. The bass from the Shanling was super punchy and tight, where the TP35 was soft and mushy. It's the best way I can describe it. And it's really super interesting when you pair these things up, when you do a comparison side by side, same gear, and listen to the two differently, where you could listen to this on some gear and go, that's pretty good. But then doing comparisons, you go, wow, it's not as good as I thought it was, or certainly not as good as when I'm listening to the two side by side. So now let's go to the Ibanez DC7 Pro. Phenomenal dongle, absolutely. The Ibanez is one of the best in the market. The epitome of clean, neutral, uncolored, nothing added, nothing boosted. On the EPZ 530 IMs, it has a thicker lower mids and extended treble, and the DC07 just lets the colored sound of the 530 come through and do their thing with great details and not add anything to the tuning. You throw on the UA6 with its upper mids and treble kind of boost, comes forward, making the EPZ more energetic and lively, more of a V-shaped boost. And if you don't believe sources make a difference, you'd be wrong. What a difference it does make, how you can really shape the sound of your gear with different sources. It's tremendous. This was a tremendous comparison. On the DC07 Pro, while the EPZ 530 let you listen to the IM uncolored in its replay, instruments like piano, guitar sound more natural because, well, they're less boosted on the upper mids and treble that the UA6 does. it just lets the IMs just do their thing with a more laid back, chill replay with those IMs and in comparison with these two dongles. Whereas the Shanling UA6 goes, no way. Let's get this party started. And that's how it treats some gear, and especially with the 530. Would I pair this dongle with the, it depends on my mood too. If I'm in for a party mood, the UA6 would be that one I would pick up with that IM. If I was more of in a chill mood and just wanted to, then it would be the Ibanez DC7 Pro or the Onyx. Different colors, different sources, different gear. Let's throw it up against a $209 Shanling DAP, the UA1 or the M1 Plus. Now, I was listening to some DSD files from the M1 Plus and using the Penon 10th anniversary IMs. The M1 Plus sounds less colored. Doesn't have the V-shaped boosted sound signature of the UA6, and it has a bigger, wider stage. The UA6 again brings vocals more forward, gives less weight to piano and guitar. The M1 Plus, in comparison, has a more organic, natural sounding replay, giving vocals a smoky level of timbre with a slight warmth to them. More body in the mids without boosting anything too much, and just colored in a very subtle, pleasing way. The two devices would be complementary to each other, actually, if you had picked both of these things up for, $360. You would get two different complete sound signatures. And here's some feedback to Shanling. I think you should put these two in a bundle for, slight discount, or a bigger discount if you wanted. This would be awesome, where you could pick up the two together and get two different sound signatures. With the warmer, thicker IMs like the EPZ 530 and the Q, the UA6 is an absolute beast for those. Where the M1 Plus on the Penon just was magical. It really was. The M1 Plus still blows me away on how good it sounds, this little DAP. I really enjoy that DAP quite a bit. I have better DAPs, but I don't know why it is. It's the size, the form factor, ease of use, whatever it is, I do gravitate towards that little DAP. So in conclusion, really, the pros about the UA6. Well, this hybrid power system, it's a threefold system that works very well. One, firstly, by ensuring peak performance. The compatibility with everything would be number two, and number three, the lower power drain. That hybrid battery system has some value, has some merit to it. It's worth paying more for something like this that you'll get the highest level of performance, low battery drain. You get lots of options for customization. It stays very cool, so if you're throwing this in your pocket, it's not going to burn your premium feel, build quality, the balanced out and the single-ended option is there, so you get lots of power to drive almost everything except for the hardest to drive cans and IMs. It has big fat buttons for big fat fingers. I would love to see, this is some criticism now, these buttons are flat and they just kind of blend into the side. It'd be nice if they were more tactile, if they were raised a bit more, and they had a little bit more clicky feel to them. That's what I would love to see in the next version of this. And that center button, have like a dot in the center, so when you're running your fingers over it, when it's in your pocket, it's a little bit more easier to identify, more tactile feel. Overall, the UA6 is a very nice offering with the hybrid battery. That's its biggest selling feature. Sound-wise, a great choice for warmer, laid-back gear to bring them to life, give them some life. So that's the UA6 in a nutshell. Thank you for watching, and I'm glad I got a chance to review this one. Thank you to Shanling for providing the unit for myself and the channel. This is Tone Deaf Monk. Nope, production.